3 weeks had passed since Twilight, Spike, Rarity, and Fluttershy embarked on their mission to save their lost friend. The news broke out quickly, reducing one of the bravest and most loyal ponies in Equestria to a cold-blooded serial killer. The fact that the element of loyalty would kill even her closest friends for her own sick enjoyment was a tragedy that no one could possibly comprehend. And yet, despite what they lost, the 4 Crusaders refused to believe in the worst in Dash and carried on, hoping that they could save her before it was too late. As the train to Canterlot neared its destination, they all decided to meet in the empty carriage, where no pony could hear them. Twilight was first to enter. Her fur was now a light sky blue, and her mane was white and curly. Her cutie mark was a paintbrush, signifying that her special talent was painting. Rarity was next to walk in. Her fur was light brown, and her mane was straight and jet black. Her cutie mark was now a pair of scissors, showing her special talent was hairdressing. "How on Celestia's earth did I ever let you do this to me? I look so tacky! And my tail! You ruined my tail!" "That's exactly why it's the perfect disguise. It's completely out of character." "And how did you change our cutie marks anyway? I remember you couldn't give Apple Bloom one when she wanted hers." "I couldn't, but I figured out that the spell only works if a pony already has a cutie mark. It's something I figured out." Just then, Fluttershy walked in behind them. Her fur was pearl white, her mane was a light blonde, and was tied back in a ponytail which hung over her left shoulder. Her cutie mark was now a microphone, signifying her special talent is singing. "Hello," she murmured. You wanted to see us?" Spike then walked behind Fluttershy, clearly frustrated, looking the same as he did when he left. He leaned against the wall and crossed his arms. "Why don't I get a cool disguise?" "Because," Twilight said, walking up to Spike, "it's very rare for young dragons to be walking around these days. We'd only bring attention to ourselves. You'll just have to stay at the motel with Fluttershy until we're ready to leave." "I guess." "Now, listen everyone, we only have one shot at this. Chances are that every pony has heard what we're trying to do, so it is vital that we stay composed if we want to have a myotum of chance of walking out of Canterlot." Spike stepped forward. "This pony you're going to meet, are you sure we can trust her?" "I've known Meanie Mo since Magic Kindergarten. She's an expert at the pony psyche, and I think she could help us find out how this horrible event started. I don't know for sure, but hopefully she won't hand us to the police." "Sounds kind of risky," Spike added. "Of course it's risky, but if there's any chance of helping Rainbow, then we can't ignore it. She's out there somewhere, lost and alone. And right now, we're the only ones who can help her." Twilight looked out the window, seeing the mountain landscape rush by as she imagined the blue Pegasus flying next to her with a smile she had not seen for months. "I'd give anything to make it better," Twilight sniffled. "To have things the way they used to be. Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, and Applejack. We were all so happy." Twilight lifted her head and stifled back the tears. "We're almost there. Remember, every pony, we are doing this for Rainbow Dash." The night carried on as the train charged towards Canterlot. This is where the story begins, but every story has an ending. After a long and tiresome journey, the train finally arrived at Canterlot Station. Twilight looked out of the window and saw exactly what she expected. The platform was swarming with guards, left and right, looking through passports and cases. Twilight turned to her friends, who were all ready to go. "All right, this is it. Remember, guys, from now on, we're not Twilight, Fluttershy, Rarity, or Spike. We'll meet up at the motel, and then hopefully this will all be worth it. Good luck, everyone. And Spike." "Yes?" Twilight leaned forward and nuzzled the dragon on the chin. Before smiling, she concentrated and used her magic to to cause a loud flash to engulf the room. As the two ponies in the corner opened their eyes, they saw Twilight, but no Spike. Rarity jumped forward to the exhausted pony lying on the ground.
Twilight, what happened? Where's Spike?
I'm right here. Rarity turned around, but no one was there.
Where?
Ugh. Twilight groaned. I used one of my old spells. She's invisible to the naked eye, but only for a few minutes. We need to move now, before it wears out.
Okay.
Spike, stay with Fluttershy, and don't wander off. Got it. Fluttershy, remember.
Big and brash. I know.
All right, every pony. Let's go. Fluttershy was first to walk off the train. She was immediately stopped by a tall stallion, almost causing her to lose her composure. He took a look at her fake passport and showed it to the guard, who gave her a quizzical look before leaning and saying, "What's your business here?" Fluttershy looked back at Twilight before looking at the guard in the eyes.
Excuse me? Do you know how rude it is to treat a pony such as myself like this? I am Featherwing, and I am here for a dress rehearsal, so, unless you want to talk to my manager, I suggest you let me on with my business, she said with a stern tone in her voice. The guard rolled his eyes before looking at his partner.
It's not her. He then turned to Fluttershy again, this time not as imposing. I'm sorry, ma'am. We're just taking precautions on security here in Canterlot. You wouldn't happen to know about 3 ponies and a dragon coming this way, would you? Fluttershy huffed and walked past the guard. She turned the corner with her head held high.
Nicely done, Spike said. Thank you. I feel kind of bad for the guard, though. He was only doing his job.
Fluttershy peeked through the fence to see Twilight and Rarity walking past the guards.
They made it!
Fluttershy, we better get moving. I'm not sure how long the spell lasts.
Oh, okay.
Fluttershy ran towards the motel as Rarity and Twilight made their way to the library. They looked around the once beautiful town, shocked and stunned to see the city so lifeless and boarded up.
Did Rainbow Dash cause all this?
Rarity muttered.
Looks like it.
It's amazing how fast panic travels.
Unless she's already been here.
Twilight saw the familiar sight of her old library in the distance.
There! That's where we'll find Minimo.
How can you be so sure? Rarity asked, her voice filled with doubt. She took my place when we moved out of Ponyville. They saw that the tall building was in a much better condition than all the other buildings surrounding it. They walked up to a large open doors of the library and walked into the reception. They immediately saw Twilight's friend, who was writing in a large book. She was a gray unicorn with a midnight blue-colored mane, and wore a smart pair of glasses. What did you want? The unicorn asked with lack of enthusiasm. I'm very busy today.
Meanie? Twilight said under her breath, clearly grabbing the unicorn's attention. Twilight! She whispered.
Twilight nodded as she looked at her with a dumbfounded expression on her face.
Follow me.
Meanie composed herself before walking away from the desk into the office, locking the door behind Twilight and Rarity.
What are you doing here? Meanie whispered. Do you have any idea how much trouble you're in? I'm supposed to turn you in if I see you.
Meanie, I know this is a shock to you, but I really need your help.
Help? You want my help?
No. Out of the question. I am sorry, but you really must leave now.
Meanie, please. I wouldn't do this if it wasn't important. I could lose my position, you know.
It's about Rainbow Dash. The words lingered in Meanie's mind, the look of fear suddenly growing on her face as she stood quiet and still.
Rainbow Dash?
Meanie shivered.
You mean the murderer?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we need your help in finding out how this all started. You're the only mayor who can help us.
Why me? Because you're the only pony I can trust. You're going to try and save her, aren't you? Yes. Okay. For you, Twilight. Thank you.
Rarity was helping Twilight and Meanie find the books they were looking for. Twilight watched intently as her friend looked through her files thoroughly. Twilight then leaned forward. Anything? Nothing yet. I can only do so much with the information you've given me. None. I'm sorry, Twilight, but I simply can't determine what's wrong with Rainbow Dash.
There must be something, Rarity said. Maybe you've missed something.
Look, insanity doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has to have occurred by a natural cause, which can be triggered by continuous stress, an undeveloped part of the mind, simple hypnosis, or even trauma. Either way, either that or she had consumed a poisonous substance that had put a curse on her. That's everything there is to it. I've been taught it, read it, been shown it, and even experienced it myself. So don't insult my intelligence and say I've missed something. There is something I forgot to mention, Twilight added.
What?
Both Rarity and Meanie said.
Well, before Pinkie was found murdered in Sugar Cube Corner,
Rainbow Dash looked, well,
tired.
Rarity looked confused.
So, sleep caused this?
Meanie scoffed.
Of course not, silly. Although sleep deprivation is quite common for such an athletic pony.
And also, Twilight added, she didn't seem to be herself. She seemed distant. But she was also jumpy. I hadn't spoken to her for weeks because she just ignored me every time I tried to communicate with her. Twilight could see the wheels turning in Meanie's mind. Just then, a sudden epiphany struck her.
That's it!
Meanie squealed, before holding the confused mares by the shoulders.
Twilight, you're a genius!
I am? Meanie dashed off to pick up the only book that wasn't open. Like I said before, the brain can crack under both natural causes and simply by sabotaging it. The fact that she was suffering from sleep deprivation and her lethargic attitude at all are both symptoms of nightmares.
Nightmares, Rarity said. How can nightmares have caused all this?
We all still have nightmares, but we don't go killing every pony because of it. No, Rarity. These aren't your simple falling from the sky, drowning, or being chased by a bear nightmares. These are the nightmares. These nightmares are some of the most gruesome, horrifying, and explicit nightmares a pony could suffer. Sometimes they can be as terrible as watching your friends mutilate your body as you lay there and watch them feast on your insides. Rarity gagged. She tried to clear the thought of the gruesome image from her mind. But Meanie, this still doesn't explain how this could have happened. Well, the only way these kinds of nightmares can be implanted in the mind is through a very special poison. I mean, really old-fashioned stuff. Pretty nasty, too. It lingers in the mind for the rest of the pony's life, playing the same nightmare over and over again. Whatever happens to the pony's psyche, that is, whatever they go insane or commit suicide, can't be specified. It all depends upon how strong the mind is. Poor Rainbow. Who would do this to her? Why didn't she tell any pony about what she was going through? Twilight said, with tears welling up in her eyes. I can't even begin to imagine what she's going through, Rarity said. Is there any way we can help her? Meanie Mo looked at Rarity and then Twilight, before she sighed in frustration. I'm sorry. As far as I know, there isn't anything that's known to us that can help her. This stuff eats away until the mind is nothing left but anger and hate. No! There must be something we can do. There must be something. Anything! Twilight began,
trying desperately to hold back her tears as Meanie walked up behind her and placed a hoof on her shoulder, trying hard to comfort her unicorn friend. I'm sorry, Twilight. There really isn't anything we can do. It's not her anymore. She's forgotten about you. Forgotten? You said, forgotten. Twilight thought hard for a second before it hit her. That's it! If I just use my memory spell on her, she'll remember everything. Do you think it'll work? Meanie paused, trying to clear her mind. I suppose it's never been done before. It's a long shot. It could work. And that's all we need. Twilight began to get excited. Rarity stepped forward. But we still don't know where she is. Twilight's mood dropped just as quickly as it had fired up. You're right. Any ideas, Meanie? Well, with any kind of mental disturbance, I suppose she'd go to a dark and creepy place. Somewhere scary. Kinda cliché, if you ask me. Twilight looked at Rarity, clearly concerned and worried about having to venture to such a location. So, would the Everfree Forest be our best bet? It'd be a good place to start, but you're still not seriously thinking of going after her, are you? She's my friend, and she'd do the same for me. Goodbye, Meanie. Thank you so much for all your help. Good luck, Meanie shouted as Twilight and Rarity ran out of the room. You're going to need it.